meeting of September 19th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Sharon, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, board. We'll do some housekeeping items. When speaking, please move close to your microphone to ensure you are heard clearly for the YouTube streaming. And I request citizens who speak to adjust the height and stand close to their microphone. There will be 2 opportunities for citizen comments. I will be requesting individuals stay within the 4 minutes in both citizen comment sections. Would appreciate everyone keeping their points concise. I would request that comments are made respectfully to the board. We are here to discuss the township's business. Citizen comments should pertain to specific issues, concerns, or policies they would like to bring to the board's attention. To respect everyone's time, I strongly urge the board not to respond to public comments, but address them in the board comment section. Sometimes this is difficult, but this is not a debating stage between the citizens and board members. We have township business to conduct, and it is required that we do so effectively. If there needs to be a follow-up from the board, I will direct the appropriate person to reach out to that individual. The documents in the website are aligned to the items on the agenda. These are draft documents to provide background information only. Just to be clear, the motions were drafted to help the board more quickly get to the final wording and vote on the respective motions. The final motion may look different to reflect the actual action taken by the board. So moving forward, we have minutes to approve.
Correspondence.
No, correspondence comes third.
Oh, yes.
And now and then I mess it up, so it's good to test me. So we have 3 sets of minutes, 2 that are public, 1 that will be addressed separately. Are there any changes to the minutes to the regular board meeting of August 15th, 2023?
I have none.
Alan?
I have none.
All right, Kath? All right, I would like to insert 1 item. It's in section E, agenda for board discussion, bullet point number 2. I'd like just to put in 2 words for clarification after the word communications. Have now received a lot of communications from citizens this year compared to last year.
Okay.
That's the only item I have for that. If there's no other changes, then I will make the motion to approve the minutes for August 15, 2023, regular board meeting minutes with changes. Is there a second?
I can second that.
All right, it is moved and seconded to approve the regular board meeting of August 15th, 2023 minutes with changes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Are there any changes to the minutes for the special board meeting of August 25th, 2023, which was the public meeting regarding Barnes Park? I have none.
I have none. I have none.
Did you say none or 1?
None.
No, I don't think.
None. All right. I will make the motion to approve the August 25th, 2023 special board meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Kath. It is moved and seconded to approve the special board meeting of August 25th, 2023. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right.
Here's the other ones I need to.
Close it.
Yeah, I understand. Jason, grab that. All right. We will distribute the closed meeting minutes to each board member for their review. Board, any changes will require us to go into closed session to correct. Please take a few moments to review the minutes.
Motion to go into-
Shh, Kathy.
Kath?
They can make corrections on here and pass them around. We can look at them too.
All right. I have no changes.
I have one suggestion, and it won't hurt to say it out loud.
I don't think you can make a suggestion. If you
No.
want to make a change, that's
do.
fine.
Write it
If you don't want
down.
to make a change, then do you want to go into closed session for your comment?
Do I have to?
Yes. We would, yes.
If I have to, yes.
All right. Then, board, I will take a motion to go into closed session to review the minutes. Yeah, we'll do that. Well, we got to pass a motion to go into close. So I've made the motion to go into closed session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and seconded to go into closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go into closed session to review the comments by the clerk.
Mhm.
All right.
Yellow cherry tomatoes, grape tomatoes, regular tomatoes, peppers, corn, sweet potatoes, onions. She started on all the walls inside. And then put them out in the garden, and she said, it said that she had just the top of the shop them so in there. And they took off. Shit up.
What are those?
Walnuts, there's sweet onions.
Oh, okay. Like the noondays or the medallions or the, it's just kind of a random thing, I think, what people call them, right?
Yeah, I think so.
How big is the garden? That's very good.
Green beans, butterbean, she grew dry beans, because she makes her own salsa, and then throw the dry beans and wait till they get dry and then shell them. And then dry black beans. 8 rows of sweet corn.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
I don't know what's going on.
She forgot she planted some, so she planted it again?
Here, he said she's.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that's gotta be resolved, you know. This is so, and that one started doing.
Okay, how about pumpkins?
Yeah.
You have pumpkins for Halloween, that's
Two
coming up.
different kinds of pumpkins.
Oh, my goodness. That is a lot of work.
That's
Well,
nice.
I had an issue,
Yeah.
and they turned around, the only thing we.
Mine was planted half the sweet corn all by herself.
Last year.
Did she really?
One of the rows was a little bit crooked, but
The corn doesn't know it.
corn doesn't know it. It tasted good.
Mine
has she has like flowers too, sunflowers. Put sunflowers throughout the garden. Just so.
She did come on purpose.
Oh, volunteers.
Yeah, also.
And Patty, they're they.
We had one
One
guy
of them,
that was
you know,
back
right.
2 years ago. Because his local.
So did it crowd out or either, did they both survive?
They both survived.
And,
Yeah,
it was just, I don't know why he was.
red beets.
He actually.
Okay, so what do you teach us? Dice them up, to use them, or what do you do?
She makes big beans.
Oh.
Yep, cans of.
It doesn't get fleshy or anything, it's that big. I don't care, every one likes it. That big.
It's like, yeah, it's like the size of the.
Yeah, I know. That I buy, or, you know, or slices that are.
Yeah, she gets 2 beets in the courtyard.
Oh, my gosh.
Cut all of them on pieces. Let's see, what else we got? Cucumbers, she can a lot of that. None of the kids like dills though, so she made, red butter.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the other thing too, on this.
I usually do candy jars of pickles, because I have a recipe that is intimidating.
When I see one of those.
Sweeter than your regular ones, that I really like, so I usually make my own pickles. but
I just do, I think that,
Have you ever heard of coolers?
you know, you gotta.
Those are really good, she made those last year, so you make dill pickles, and you dump all the
It's
juice
just
off,
like,
and then you put
yeah,
Kool-Aid in.
you own bits here. It's actually.
And so if you put pink Kool-Aid in.
When you get out there and that's.
Oh, my goodness.
And then you can sit in there for like 2 weeks, and that's what's called the sugar Kool-Aid. And you have like
Sweet
sour,
stuff.
sweet dill, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it probably has a very similar.
You know, it's not all I
ones that I have.
You know, usually this.
Sounds like-
That's the kids all love.
Yeah. No, but seriously.
It's great, it's all homegrown.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know exactly what's going in.
Yeah.
They gotta do something.
Well,
I don't have a garden.
I have 3 tomato plants, I know that kind of.
It's a start.
But I have a couple of friends that like to give me cucumbers and tomatoes and stuff, so. And one might have
Seriously.
And regular potatoes. And purple potatoes.
Oh, my
If
goodness.
you've ever seen purple potatoes, they look really funny.
Yeah.
They taste good.
Yeah, okay. I bought them in the store, but they turn white, they got steak purple.
I don't know.
These steak purple.
They still look like.
But I see.
Deal.
Change it. I see the signs, because the signs were, you know, you know, I still.
You guys help with the garden?
Certified. Fire.
You like to pick the
It's gotta be
cucumbers.
certified by
What else do you pick? Tomatoes?
the, fire.
Sweet corn.
Oh, that's always the best.
What else? Buckwheat, summer.
Oh, that's a horrible job.
And she cans 40 pounds in one day.
No, you need 20 pounds of sauce.
Salsa, right?
Yeah.
Salsa or tomato sauce.
Having
Yep.
That's what they got. That was,
July was 10th.
so that's what, so really right now, the line. Legally. I don't know, I already did the legal.
Gorgeous.
I thought they did that. Well, I thought maybe that was an amendment to the sign or something. Original. I mean, I said, it was.
Why, that's true. We didn't think any of the theaters except the.
Sheriff.
Yep, and she's really good.
You call it what? Licensing. Licensing, okay.
It's still not working.
Yeah, and she's black and white. And then.
So what's Spotty then?
Spotty, it has black spots.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's that. Yeah, I understand. It's the bottom, that's what it.
Has a black head.
That's kind of unusual. I mean, they had one color, but there's a lot of them.
And then she walks.
That's why that area has to get bigger. Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
not just for, I mean, for the fire truck.
So,
That's the closet.
I mean, you can't be going down to that thing.
somebody calls us that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have two closets. And she walks.
Does that hurt?
I don't think so, but she's supposed to like walk on.
Well, they really before.
Normally, the claws don't touch the ground, they sit with the spine, but it doesn't seem to bother her.
And we were looking. She was black. Most of like.
Yes.
You didn't call her splotchy.
No.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
cool.
What's her name?
Yeah, you can body goes over the road.
There you go.
She has a crown.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ornaments.
And so we got this little, after they all, we got this meeting contribution.
Oh, okay.
And then Spotty was in cornfield. And
Spotty's supposed to be cornfield in the corner?
surprisingly, they stayed up and maintained the park. And we were like,
That's all.
Yes.
Scared.
I had this 600-pound salad, I tried to get back to the barn, and it's just like, it's bigger than you.
That's right, over your road. That's right. I'm not a sheep, do I look like a public? Mine are construction.
They're the one eye, they seem to go where the other eye.
We made the motion in there to come back into close, open session at 7:18.
You had the time that we voted to go to.
7:11.
All right, board. We've gone through our changes. I will entertain a motion to come out of closed session. Do I have a second?
Yes,
All right. Motion has been made and seconded to come out of closed session at
7:18.
7:18. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So 5-0 for the vote. We are all set on time. So I will now make the motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the special meeting held on August 25th, 2023 with changes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jason. Motion has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the closed session of the special meeting held on August 25th, 2023 with changes. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Martell,
Yes?
Merchant,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes?
Schultz,
Yes?
and myself, yes.
Let me turn these back
That
in.
motion is approved, yeah, 5-0, and I'll take all your envelopes, please. Perfect, we're good.
All right.
Moving right
Next,
along.
next
Sorry.
item is yours, Kath.
I lost my
Correspondence and,
correspondence and announcements.
yeah,
No correspondence. Just the announcement that there is a November election for Torch Lake Township, but only for those residents that use Central Lake schools. So if you're in Torch Lake Township and your Elk Rapids schools, you do not have an election. But if you are Central Lake schools, you do.
School
Okay?
district,
School district. Mhm.
not use.
That's the only announcement that I can think of.
all right.
Oh.
All right, next item is the approval of the agenda. I have 2 items I'd like to add under special reports, number 4. The Central Lake School District representatives are here to discuss the issues that will be on the ballot. And change in the wording on item number 5 under new business. That should be planning PC, not ZBA amendment 21.02. Does anyone else have any
Say
changes?
that again? I'm sorry.
On new business, item number 5, looks like I just copy and pasted and changed the last
Okay.
number.
Yeah,
That ZBA should be Planning Commission.
you're correct. Thank you.
Are there any other changes? If not, I will make the motion that the agenda be accepted with changes. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded that the agenda is accepted with changes. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, board. We will move to citizen comment. Again, a reminder, please keep it to 4 minutes.
Okay, I've only received one comment card, and that was from Janet Killian.
All right, Janet?
You might want to make sure it's on.
No.
No, it is not.
Talk right into
I'd
it.
like to comment on the zoning change ordinance, to the ordinance regarding dimensional variances, section 20.06. I think that all 5 of the criteria that are listed in the proposed change are important and should be considered for all the requests for variances. However, I think that requiring that the property owner meet all 5 of these criteria is unnecessary and unreasonable. I think any one of these could be substantial and substantive cause to support a decision. You wouldn't need all 5 of them, and I think it's unreasonable to expect all 5 of these criteria to be met. For example, the 5th one, which is really addressing the taking of a property, you would have to show that if you were not granted the variance for your property, it would be a taking. That's a very high standard. It's very difficult to show that. If you weren't able to do that, you wouldn't be meeting all 5 criteria, and therefore you would have your variance denied. Conversely, if for some chance there was a showing that it would be a taking of your property if you weren't granted the variance, but for some reason you couldn't show that you met one of the other criteria, the zoning board of appeals would have to deny your request. And that because it's a taking, I'm sure they would take it to circuit court and they would most likely prevail. I realize that variances are an exception. They should not be commonplace. They should be somewhat difficult to obtain, but they should not be next to impossible, which is, I think, what would be happening if you required all 5 criteria to be met. I can see the effort to try to make it easier for the zoning administrator, the zoning board of appeals, the planning commission, and the township. But when you go so far to try to make it easier for yourselves that you make it almost impossible to grant a variance, you no longer have a provision for granting variance, as it's a provision in name only. So thank you for listening to my comments.
All right, thank you. You didn't fill out a form, but I'll give
Any
you your,
other cards? No?
no, you said only one.
Yeah.
Jairus Rubin, County Commissioner. Antrim County has been discussing for a while now a new public safety center. And they have hired a company to send out a citizen survey via postcard. So we have approximately 20,000 voters in Antrim County, and 25% of them will be getting a survey approximately the next month or so. It will be asking questions like, do you own your own property or do you rent? And would you vote for 1 mil for 20 years for a new public safety center? Or I think another question is 1 mil for 15 years. 1 mil in Antrim County taxes generates about $2 million approximately. So if it's 20 years at 1 mil, that's $40 million roughly. The other thing I wanted to mention.
Before you go.
Yeah.
What's the estimate of the cost? I mean, you can't decide, 15 or 20 years.
The estimate, the latest estimate that I've seen was for a 56-bed facility, and the estimate was $29 million.
Which sounds like a lot of money.
Alan, did you have a question?
No, I probably do, but I can't think of it.
Yeah, Jason.
Do you have that many inmates, 59?
No. I've been a county commissioner for just over 3 years, and I believe there have been 2 sheriff's reports where the number of inmates exceeded 33. So the average has been in the 20s, the high 20s, 26, 28,
How many?
27. Yeah.
Sorry. How many beds are there now?
I believe it's 56 or 58 right
okay.
now.
Oh, there is, okay.
And they're replacing that number then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Jason, you had a question.
I think I've had my question answered. It's a jail, is that what we're talking about? Antrim County?
And you called it the Public Safety
Center.
Center.
That's the fancy name for it.
For a jail.
For a
Yeah.
jail.
Yeah.
But then the question is, if 29, wouldn't you want to run your numbers instead of giving a range, 15 or 20 years? Because 15 isn't going to get you the number, is it?
That's the way it seems to me, but I didn't get any say on the questions on the
That's-
postcard, so.
That's fine.
Jairus, what's their reasoning? Is the plumbing bad?
Our jail is old. It's 68 years old. And
It's non-conforming.
there's issues with the plumbing, there's issues with the ductwork, which a lot of it could be fixed, but it's also expensive. So I think the consensus is to ask the voters if they would just rather have us do new. If they say no, then we're going to fix the old one. So.
Are they planning on building in the same spot?
The similar spot, they're tearing down the annex building, and the sheriff and the undersheriff, their offices are almost done. They're going to be in the health department building. 3/4 of that building is going to be for the sheriff and the undersheriff, the evidence room, and the health department is just going to have the one quarter of the building right when you walk in there. I don't know how many of you been in there, but yeah,
Small.
yeah.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
It's a makeshift.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, 10
No.
years, 10 years ago, Leelanau
I used to
County
work
built
in
a new
there.
jail,
I worked in there.
and there was a lot of complaints about the
Mhm.
size. I'm wondering, I don't know what that result is, if the size paid off, the increase, but people there thought, why do we need so many beds? I mean, that was the issue.
I asked the question when they had Vice come before the commissioners. I said, why are we planning for a 56 bed when the average is 30 or less? And they said that they'd done demographic tests over the last 10 years, and that's the number they came up with. So it doesn't quite make sense to me because the last 3 years, as you all know, the age of our population continues to increase, and an older population has less crime. You can look at any county in the state of Michigan. Old people aren't breaking and entering. They're not getting drunk. As a general rule, I mean,
Well, this project's been going on for many years, several years. So
Yeah.
it's been in the public, and a lot of workshops have been conducted along the way too. So it's been on and off.
All right, very good.
the only other thing I was going to mention briefly is Antrim County is part of the Northern Lakes Economic Alliance, and they are looking for a new president. It's a public-private partnership. If I can just read this paragraph here. The salary range for the position is between $90,000 and $100,000. They'll be in charge of 5 people. Their primary areas of organization will be economic development, community development, grant administration and support, and organization management and programming. They are an alliance that is a public-private partnership serving businesses and communities in Antrim, Charlevoix, Sheboygan, and Emmett counties. Our previous president was Dave Emmel, and he retired, so they thought they had a new one in the works, and that one fell through. So I just mentioned it at the township board meetings because all of you know people, and I would love to have somebody apply for it that's from Antrim County. So
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right, no other citizen comment. We will close that. Moving on to consent agenda. Any of the reports want to be pulled? Board?
No.
If not, then all reports are accepted by consent. We will move on to special reports. I can speak for Jason. The planning commission was canceled. We lacked a quorum. The next meeting is in the agenda. Kathy, FOIA requests or open items?
No new FOIAs. I am still working on the one that I've been working on for a while now with the help of the requester. So it's okay in that he understands vacation, broken wrist, surgery, etc., that I'm kind of behind on those things. And I think I found the last report for what he's asking, so I think I can actually close him out by the end of the week.
Excellent. All right. Quickly on the financial overview, any questions, as always, you can reach out to me or the clerk's office. There hasn't been any real change in our financial performance. The current month change in cash was principally reflecting the operating loss for August, but that number was actually lower than both the budget and the prior year. Year to date, we are flat with the budget, even with the expense of down payment to the county for the roads. We've got favorability in both the general fund, the fire fund, and the ambulance fund, and they basically offset the road fund overage. Other than that, I think we're in good shape financially. We've got 2 more months to go before we start collecting taxes. And so we'll have negative cash flow for the next 2 months, and then we'll start showing positive numbers. We'll now go to number 4, which we added. Folks, if you'd like to come up and describe your Central Lakes bond proposal.
Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Monique Dean. I'm the interim superintendent at Central Lake Public Schools. I have with me tonight Mark Eckhart. He's interim's and consultant to the board, and he's part of our YES committee.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for investing.
You're welcome.
Central Lake Schools over the last 4 years
You can take that microphone right on out of there.
have been doing a study and looking at it with the committee, with citizens about what to do with the school district. And then they had their committee or a group of 30 people that looked at it and decided that what they wanted to do was go for a bond issue. And that was started 4 years ago, as I said. Since that time, the school district did a survey of the community of the schools. That survey was not about the bond proposal, but it was about the culture of the schools and what we needed to do to be a better school. And out of that survey, some of the questions were on bond proposals and the infrastructure of the school building itself. And with that, it came back that it was a pretty positive thing that we look at what we can do for an infrastructure of the building.
Mark, if you can just pull that microphone out, it'll be louder for the YouTube people.
Okay.
It should be.
Yeah, they don't hear very well if it's not loud. Thank you.
So when that came through, they've been working on it. I said they have a architectural firm, they have a construction management firm, and over the course of the last year, probably, the board has gone through all of the things that they looked at and have determined the needs, not the wants, but the needs that we'll need at the school to take us further and enhance the education of the students. Number one concern of this bond proposal is the safety of the students, and as Monique will determine that what's going on with the infrastructure and safety, educational opportunities for kids, and enhancement for kids for education. So, what else do we want to talk about that?
So the bond we're going for is for 30 years. It's for $26.69 million overall. It is a 3-phase bond, so if it were to pass, work would start in the summer of 2024 and conclude in the summer of 2028. So it's what we call a 3-phase bond. Initially in each phase, so the summer of 24 and 25, the primary focus would be on a small 3,200 square foot addition at the middle high school. Right now, when students and parents and guests to the building go to enter the building, they enter by the gym, which is not where the central office is located. So for security purposes, it is not very secure right now. We do have a camera as you buzz in, but we all know in today's age of school safety, that's one of our primary concerns, is to address that. Also in phase 1 of the bond, we'll be creating a vestibule at the elementary school so that we had a secure entrance. So when students and families entered, they would come into the first part. There would be like a stop area where you would go into the main office, and then once released, would go into the rest of the building. So the bond primarily focuses on the middle high school. So of the 26 million, about 20 million is to address infrastructure needs in the middle high school. Right now, the gymnasium roof at the middle high school is in very poor leaking condition. There was I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the word. Yeah, above that.
The brick.
The brick above it, I'm forgetting my word. The brick above it was removed because it was a fall hazard. So what they did was take the current rubber membrane and wrap it around the side of the roof. Just that in itself was $1.2 million for its correction to the twisted beams that are in the roof. Then an additional amount of money would go towards the membrane for the rest of the building. So there's some pretty significant areas and expenses within there. I just wanted to share a few of them with you. At the elementary school in the 3 phases, phase 1 would replace interior doors and windows. Right now, the key lock system throughout the building is not as secure as it needs to be. The vestibule that I told you about, also with both buildings right now, there is no camera system, there's no emergency system. We did apply for funding last year, some Section 97 funding, and we're able to put a PA system throughout both buildings so that in the case we have an emergency, we're able to lock down and everyone can hear us. Those are just the initial steps. Phase 3 at the elementary building is the large phase. That's at about $4 million. That's replacement of HVAC and boilers and pumps in that building that are 30 plus years old right now. At the middle high school, the first 2 phases are $8 million each, 8 million, 8 million, and then that final phase is about $4 million. I already indicated to you that small addition that we would put on for security purposes. It'll also address things like drainage issues. There's multiple areas in the building over by the art room, by the media center, and then within the building, because it's different levels, there's some drainage issues. At one point, a drainage issue where when it storms very hard, water comes in through the floor down by the media center. Yeah, so there's some significant needs. In that building, all 3 phases will address the HVAC system and electrical in both buildings.
And when Monique talks about the middle school, high school, the 1947 edition is one that we're really looking at. They talked before about just building a new building as the county had talked about doing. But when we look at that, the architect came in and said our structure of the walls is pretty solid. And we didn't need to spend the $40 million to build a new one, that we could revamp this one. So that's what we've done. This proposal that we have going through, it's, as Monique said, it's a 3-phase. We have a lot of initiatives going on right now. The last thing that we want to do, and that's why we're going out to every group we can, you'll see a lot of things in the paper. You'll get a lot of things in the mail if you're a resident of the Central Lake Schools. We want to make sure that we inform voters the best that we can so you can make an informed decision. We want to make sure that this is out there. The last thing we want is that we kept this secret, and we don't want to keep it secret. We have an initiative going on right now, and we have 3 meetings coming up. One is next week. As you know, with the new voting things that are going on and the early voting, when we're talking about a November 7th election, when I was at the intermediate school district and we had elections and it was on November 7th, that's when it was. Right now, with all the new initiatives going on with voting, we can actually start voting on September 28th.
I'm not sure that that's correct, because what I've been reading as clerk is that the 9-day previous, is that what you're referring to? We don't have to worry about that till November 2024.
No, this is from what we're told by the attorneys, that you can vote starting get your absentee ballots by the 28th.
Absentee is different than early voting, so I want to
I'm
make.
talking absentee.
Okay, you're good
Yeah.
then.
Okay.
Yeah. That
So-
9-day thing is
Yeah.
not till a year from
So
now.
that's why we're starting these meetings early in September to do that. And what it is, it's a See for Yourself campaign. And we're opening up the building. And anybody on 3 dates, the 26th of this month, the 17th of in October, and the 21st of October, for people to come in. We'll give you tours. We'll show you. We're calling it an Orange Initiative, because everything that's being changed in that building is going to have an orange sticker on it.
Can you repeat those dates, Mark?
Yep, it's September 26th.
At
October
times?
at 6 o'clock, is it? No, it's 12:30. That's we're targeting senior citizens for that group, but anybody can show up. And that's all on the school website also. And then the next date is October 17th.
That's our next board meeting.
Yeah, that's like 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock on that day.
Both?
And
then
then
on Saturday, the 21st.
to do that one. Okay?
And October 26th,
21st.
21st.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I don't recall the time, but it's either 11 or 12 o'clock. You can find that on the school website. And there's a place to sign up on the school website to take a tour.
Okay. So with that, we are more than welcome. If you have questions, if you need more information, we'll gladly come out and talk to anybody that wants to talk.
Millage be
The millage, 2.98 mils for 30 years.
for all townships in the district, for all
No,
property within the Central Lake School
In the
District.
Central Lake School District.
Does the, what is your total population? Kids?
Student population,
K-12 is about 250, and then we service also in the elementary building, infant through 5-year-olds, and that's another 50 students.
So it's over 300. Does the, have you grown?
No, we've been slowly declining. Part of the application process with the Department of Treasury is to have them do a longitudinal study of where we were with enrollment and where they predict we'll be, and our enrollment prediction is fairly steady.
Okay.
We are working hard to make sure that we're servicing families, infants through 5-year-olds, so that there's a smooth transition from early childhood into our K-12 program.
Okay.
A couple things just for your information over on the table that we brought with us is the yellow sheets are, if it passes, if it does not pass, what kind of implications would that have on the district? There's an informational sheet, just background information about the bond. And then I also dropped off another copy, what we mailed out in August to all postal holders in the Central Lake School District, our fall newsletter. And then I'm hopeful that the plastic coated one, which has information about the tours that we're going to have, is able to be posted somewhere here if you have a bulletin board.
thank you.
But like what we had mentioned earlier, you can find out a lot of information on our school website. But additionally, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to provide an individual tour or a small group tour if that would work for people.
And the website is probably Central Lake Schools.
CLPS
Oh.
K12
CLPS
K12
K12
MI
.us. So it's not as simple as I thought. Okay.
I think you answered the question already, but the elementary school building, it goes through grades 5. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay.
Fifth through 5.
So the middle high school is 6 through 12 then?
Right.
Through 12. And because we're part of Sharm ISD, I think another thing to highlight within the bond is we offer a variety of on-site career and technical education programs. We have 6 of those right now. We have public safety. Right now, we're in the process of building a house with our construction trades program.
Cool.
We have, right off the school campus, we have business class that we offer. We're in year 1 of application with the state of Michigan for a program in natural resources. I'm nervous, I'm forgetting. We have power equipment, and then our last one, which is really neat, is offered over in Bel Air, and we partner with Meadowbrook. You may have seen something. Yeah, so our kids go over there, and it's all hands-on. So some great opportunities for young adults.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, Mr. Eckhart, would you spell your last name for me? ECK? Okay, ECK.
I'm Larry's better looking cousin, right? Is that how that is?
HARD.
You retired from the ISD, didn't you?
DT.
Hey Sharon, where's the cutoff? Is it?
The cutoff,
Day
the
part?
Central Lake School District is about just exactly north of this building. So the next house to the township is the last house in Elk Rapids District, so it's all that direction. And San Marino, you go in the back in the subdivisions, they kind of wind depending where they're at. But on 31, that's where it is.
E, 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 Dean. 118, thank you. All right,
Thank you for coming.
All right, you all set, Kath?
yep.
All right, board, moving on. Old business, we have no old business. We'll move on to the first item. We were informed by the court that we need to make adjustments to our fire lane ordinance at the nature preserve. We wanted to comply with tickets that were being issued as a civil infraction. And therefore, we needed to reduce the amount from $500 to $100. The $500 level, unfortunately, is a misdemeanor, and that was certainly not the intent for issuing tickets for parking violations. Todd made the necessary adjustments. You will find them in yellow. They were the items that we needed to add. There wasn't a lot of change. Other than that, does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
All right. Alan?
These are the fire lanes are set by the county, is that right?
No, by us. Our fire chief can set the fire line. We did this back in 2021.
Yeah,
And we went through all of that the fire chief had gone to the state fire marshal, and he has the authority to designate that section. And if you remember, we also then put some capital improvements there to improve the turnaround. It was called Hammerhead.
gotcha.
So that-
I know where you are now. Good, thank
Okay.
you. I know where you are, yep.
All right. If there's no other questions, I will entertain a motion.
You
No
made the
mo-
motion or no?
Yeah, somebody can make the motion, or I can make it.
I can make the motion to amend the Police Power Fire Lane Ordinance 2021-03 as presented and direct the clerk to publish notice of amendment in the newspaper within 15 days with effective date 30 days after publication.
I will second that.
I'll second that.
That's fine.
Did you say I would? Did you say,
Bob would, but that's all right, Kath.
I'll let you have it?
All right. The motion has been made and seconded to amend the Police Power Fire Lane Ordinance 2021-03 as presented, and direct the clerk to publish notice of amendment in the newspaper within 15 days with the effective date 30 days after publishing. Any questions on the motion?
No, sir.
Hearing none. Kathy, would you start a roll call vote,
I
please?
will. Mr. Martell?
Yes,
Myself, yes. Jason?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Merchant. Ms. Schultz
Yes.
and Mr. Cook.
Yes.
That motion is approved, 5-0.
All right.
I will do the summary and get that in the paper.
Thank you.
Can I get a copy, a clean copy to put in my, or do I need to make changes in my own old one? Can you send me a clean one?
I'll send you a
Thank you.
clean one. I'll take the yellow out.
Okay.
All right, item number 2. There was a script error on the page that I included on page 3. The script error was section 5, number 1, except as provided in subsection B. B is incorrect. We didn't have an A or a B. I spoke to Todd to find out if we would have to start the process again. He indicated that since it's a script error, we only had to make a motion to change the B to subsection 2. So does the board have any questions on that?
So we're removing B is our,
Correct. And putting 2 in there.
and just 2. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I will make the motion to amend the script error in police power septic inspection and property transfer ordinance 2023-3 as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to amend the script error and police power septic inspection and property transfer ordinance 2023-3 as presented. Any question on the motion? Hearing none, Kathy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
I will. Mr. Cook, you're first.
Yes?
Mr. Merchant.
Yes.
Ms. Schultz.
Yes.
Mr. Martell.
Yes,
Myself, yes. And that motion passes 5-0. And do we have to do anything about a
Nothing.
newspaper or anything? No,
Nothing.
just correct it in our paper,
In the paperwork.
Yep, thank you.
Item number 3, we have an opening, as you know, on the PC due to the resignation from Barbara Boudreaux. I had spoken with Jeffrey Lane a while back. He's been a resident now, and he's interested in joining the Planning Commission.
Jeffrey
These-
Lane?
I'm
Jeffrey
sorry.
Clark, right?
Jeffrey Clark. I
So
don't
you
know
haven't
where I
talked
got
to
that.
Jeffrey Clark then?
I talked to Jeffrey Clark, not Jeffrey Lane.
Okay.
And I also talked to Denise Walker. She was very supportive of Jeffrey. So you have his note expressing his interest. So I would like to basically appoint him for the remaining term of Ms. Boudreaux's, which would take that through October 31st. Now, in October, I'm going to have a number of additional nominations that will take place for the Planning Commission and the ZBA. So what I'm doing is getting him on for the short term and then bringing back a full slate for both the PC and the ZBA, which is why I want to keep things in sync. I don't want to approve him for a 3-year term at this point in time and then have that individual 3 years down
Correct.
the road. So I want to keep things the way we put things together back in 2021.
So he's the one to be on both? Is that what you said?
No.
No,
He'll be on
No.
CBA and PC?
no. There's other individuals between the two organizations.
He's just replacing one.
I see that.
So I will make the motion to accept the nomination of Jeffrey Clark to fulfill remaining term of Barbara Boudreaux's on Torch Lake Township Planning Commission. Effective date is September 20th, 2023, ending October 31, 2023. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to accept the nomination of Jeffrey Clark to fulfill remaining term. Barbara Boudreaux on Torch Lake Township Planning Commission. Effective date is September 20th, 2023, ending October 31, 2023. Any discussion on the motion?
I guess so.
I'm sorry?
I just have a question.
Okay.
I don't know. I know some of our PC members are really busy with their jobs and they miss a lot of meetings. Is this guy?
He's local and he will have no trouble.
Okay.
Because I asked that question.
I asked that question.
Yes. So, yeah, that's the case. All right. No, if there's no further discussion, Kathy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
I will. Ms. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes?
Myself, yes. Mr. Martell?
yes.
Mr. Merchant?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 5-0.
All right. Item number 4 is the replacement, as Sarah pointed out. Hopefully you read through Sarah's commentary, and that the ZBA has requested this change per the attached documents, which is the replacement of the whole section of 20.06. I have the chairperson of the ZBA here in case you may have any questions as to the reasoning behind it. The brief story is the fact that in deliberations, it's difficult getting through the structured ordinance as it is now, as it pushes back and forth between the various 4 items, and they felt they needed to put verbiage that would more clearly allow them to make a yes and no decision. So anyone have any questions? And if I can't answer it, I will ask Laura to come up and support it.
The only, well, again, there's always words that are not clear, always, because that's your job as a ZBA to make that judgment. With regard to Ms. Killian, on that last one, E, as a taking, it really means that a particular property, if you strictly apply the zoning ordinance, they couldn't have developed that property under the zoning that is how it is zoned. And the strict idea is why it goes to the ZBA. If your property fits all the rules of 20,000 square feet and room for setback and no special pond or lake or tree sometimes are in the middle of it, then you fit the zoning ordinance. You can fit your house or whatever you're building in there. So I didn't quite understand why that would be a taking that you had mentioned under E. Having all 5 of them, again, as I look at these, I was on the ZBA a long time, and I look at these, and the only one that ever bothered us was C. Did the applicant bring it up because they want to put their house in a particular spot, and all of a sudden that spot doesn't quite, there's something in the way or something doesn't quite fit. That is, the need for the variance was not self-created. But again, when the ZBA was able to work around that. I don't remember where we did not have all 5 of these conditions present to approve something, and when the approval worked, then the approval worked well for these properties. So, and I read the current language too, and it's always been a little bit difficult. And the word that bothers me was B, and again, there's no way to, this is where the judgment comes in by the ZBA. Is it fair to the adjacent properties? That word fair is what the ZBA has to make a determination of. And sometimes history helps you with that as well. That's all I have to say. I truly don't see any issues.
All right, thank you, Alan. Anyone else? Yes, Sharon?
Well, I'm glad Alan kind of chimed in first because I had concerns with what Janet had said, and if we could clarify some of her concerns on that. So that was my question because I understood her points also. So.
Well, she did it. I believe you addressed those concerns at the Planning Commission meeting when this originally was brought up.
I see here.
And-
She was the only one in the
Right.
in the
She was the only
audience.
one that came forward
Right.
with any concerns. So I think the Planning Commission evaluated her concerns along with the commentary from the zoning administrator. I happened to attend that meeting as well. And I think that they were comfortable with going with the changes. Is there any further discussion on this?
Do we still answer your questions, Janet?
And that's fine, but we've had the Planning Commission review it, the zoning administrator, and it went through Antrim County. So I believe that, and it's really the desire of the ZBA chairperson and the ZBA to have this as a working model for them.
Can we ask Laura then?
You can ask her if you'd like.
Okay, so this wording was taken verbatim from Michigan Association of Planning. And it was to simplify what we had. I think what we had was a little convoluted because there were a number of issues that, in our old ordinance that were redundant. They were in more than one, and so it was hard to methodically go through. That's why we simplified it, used the language and the 5-point recommendation from the Michigan Association of Planning. So I think I think this criteria is widely accepted in the state of Michigan.
And easy to work with.
Right.
Okay,
Very good, thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions? If not, then I will make the motion to approve the zoning amendment related to the zoning ordinance, Chapter 20, replacing Section 20.6 as presented. The clerk is directed to publish the notice of change within 15 days of passage, and the effective date is 8 days after the publication date. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded to
Is that
approve.
Jason?
Yes. Approve the zoning amendment related to the zoning ordinance, Chapter 20, replacing Section 20.6 as presented, and the clerk is directed to publish the notice of change within 15 days of passage, and the effective date is 8 days after the publication date. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, Kathy, would you have a roll call vote, please?
I will. Mr. Merchant,
Yes.
Ms. Schultz.
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Martell,
Yes,
Thank you, board.
motion passes 5-0. I will see about getting that in the newspaper.
All right, item number 5. Is the PC has requested this change. It is an incremental section that they're adding. Sarah could not be here tonight, but this also was discussed at length at the Planning Commission meeting. It was also an open public hearing for which I'm not sure you spoke at that, for that section. So there was nobody that came out to discuss that during public comment. So does anybody have any questions related to that? If not, then I will make the motion to approve zoning.
one question I have.
All right,
We get a zoning amendment here up to the board level. And these criteria are criteria that we can use to evaluate it, just as we hope the planning commission has done. Am I right about that?
I would assume so, yes, we would be responsible for doing that.
Because my thinking has always been that when it comes up to us, we're another planning commission to deal with. You know, we have a public to consider. We can, somebody can actually require us to have another hearing, et cetera. Okay, I guess I don't have a question. I guess this is fine. The only thing, what I like is, it kind of goes back to what Ms. Kellyann brought up, is that we don't have to go through all of the items in here to determine if an amendment to the zoning ordinance is good or bad. We don't have to approve all of the items that are in here, 9 of them. We can pick and choose because the word may is in this statement. The township board may consider the following. I don't know if that's an inconsistency or not, but I'm going to not talk anymore.
Promise? Ellen,
Ellen,
do you
You
promise?
want me to vote?
No, do you promise?
What's that?
No.
I'm being
facetious.
rude.
Oh,
You
All
said
right.
you were going to stop speaking, and I said promise.
okay.
All right,
I
so
promise.
board, I will make the motion to approve zoning amendment related to zoning ordinance, chapter 21, by adding section 21.02 as presented. The clerk is directed to publish the notice of change within 15 days of passage, and the effective date is 8 days after the publication date. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jason. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the zoning amendment related to zoning ordinance chapter 21 by adding section 21.02 as presented, and the clerk is directed to publish the notice of change within 15 days of passage, and the effective date is 8 days after the publication date. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Kathy, would you do a roll call vote, please?
I will. Okay, I'm first this time, and I say yes. Alan?
Yes,
Jason?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to be formal. Sharon
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes. All right, thank you. Board?
It's the way it was written on here.
Yeah, I don't go through all that. Last item, board, relates to the scanning team. I will have a comment regarding the, where we stand on scanning in information only. But currently, we're going to be down one scanner. They're making tremendous progress back there. Kay is cracking the whip. And
Oh, man, she's
she
done a
is-
great job.
She is really dynamite.
She's not the one leaving.
No,
Okay.
no. Mr. Bowman is a resident out of Central Lake, but I guess was in discussion with Virginia and expressed an interest in learning scanning. We're going to be down a scanner come November. I think Linda has personal business to take care of. So our thought is to backfill that. The person would be starting out, we'd be training them. They start at a salary of $15 an hour, which is what our rate card states. And there's not a lot of people lining up to fill the scanner roles. So,
How many hours are we looking at for this person?
you know, Sharon, I don't know. To comment what I was going to, the information, we are now in the closet there behind your office. We're in the clerk's office. The assessor and zoning office is done. So what I am trying to do is to push them to get this done by March of next year, which completes it in this fiscal year. And at that point, we only have the ongoing paperwork that we generate going into that. So it's not going to be as much work. Certainly, it was a bigger job than we recognized when we first put this together in December of 2020, I believe, is when we started this. And it took us some time to get started. So it's been a couple years in the process. We faced a couple issues, such as people had wanted time down during the summer, and so we didn't get as much done during the summer months. But I think we're in pretty good shape to try to get it done in March, and by getting an additional person, that should help. So that's the background on it.
So we would have this new person, we would have Kay and Ginny.
Well, Kay uploads into the cloud. The other people are taking the documents and loading them in, scanning them in. So it's a two-step process.
Okay,
Kay actually pulls the paper clips and the staples out and then organizes it. The people scan it. She gets it, and then she categorizes it and loads it into the cloud. It's more than I would ever want to deal with.
indeed.
I'll make the motion to accept the nomination of Charles Bowman as scanner effective September 20th, 23 at a rate of $15 per hour. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Kathy. It has been made and motion's been made and seconded to accept the nomination of Charles Bowman as a scanner effective September 20th, 2023 at a rate of $15 per hour. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Kathy, a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Martell,
Yes.
Mr. Merchant.
Yes.
Ms. Schultz,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, board.
So we'll have to get his application and everything in.
Yep. All right. Moving on to board discussion. We've got 4 items. The update on Barnes Park, I've had meetings and email communications between myself and Jeremy, including Terry on them. The meeting that I had with them was constructive in the fact that we had items that we could agree to disagree on.
Starting point.
At least it was an open and honest dialogue between us. We're currently, as a township, in the process of filing or finalizing the violation notice that will be sent to Antrim County, identifying the specific ordinances and sections of the ordinances as they have requested as to the violations related to the additional campsites in the meadow area. That was one of their asks, so we are putting that formal documentation together. If you'll remember, we went through and we voted on 6 different items. The 2 critical items were the provisions that, number 1, that they would agree to be subjective to all Torch Lake Township zoning ordinances. We wanted that in writing in some form, and they were unwilling to do that. We asked that the county agrees that they will adhere to the Torch Lake Township zoning ordinances that were specifically identified, Alan, in the motion. Sections 4.03, non-conforming uses, 5.03, the erection of alternation and use of buildings, Chapter 11, Timber Reserve Zoning District, and Section 19.02A, zoning permit required. They were not in an agreement that they would have to comply with all those things. I think essentially they feel there are items that they're allowed to do in townships that they don't have to come for our permission. I have requested that they provide the case law that supports that. I haven't gotten that yet from Jeremy. I'm not sure if I will or not, but that was one of the follow-up questions. Item number 3 was the improvement of communications between the 2 parties. I think that is working. We're having continual dialogue and it is constructive. So I think that item is met. Antrim County agrees to remove all campsites located within the open meadow area, as we would designate by an inspection by both myself and the zoning administrator. They're not going to agree to remove those, at least at this point. That may be still a negotiated item that we can get to. Provide evidence to those campsites that existed as of August 9th, 1983. They said that's a work in progress. They did provide me with a letter dated 1975, in which at that time, the health department was going around looking at various parks, and Barnes Park was identified as having 70 campsites at that time. I think they're up to 116 or something like that. I won't swear to that number, but it has grown. I've requested that they provide campsite counts for any year after 1983, 1990, 2000, 2010, so that we can have some idea of what the expansion has occurred. We do know that I believe it's in 2003 they built the second bathhouse. So we know they've added buildings. The The administration building is a newer building, and the various equipment housing buildings are probably post-1983. So that has not been met. And then my idea of looking at the expenses, basically the park and all the other parks are combined in one item on their budget and their expenses. And so I am assuming they're hoping that the park, Barnes Park, can cover all the expenses that are in that particular budget section. Their target is, and as they look at their budgets, they try to cover that, if I'm not mistaken. So they have not met all the items. I'm not encouraged on that front. But as of right now, I am drafting a letter that will follow up on the violation notification from the zoning administrator. And I will keep the communication open after that letter and see if there isn't some way to get it resolved without going to court. So I'm not going to jump there. You've given me the authority to initiate that. If we don't get the comfort that the county is going to adhere to our zoning ordinances, but I'm not going to jump there yet. Let's see if we can get some communicated in the next 2 weeks. And then I will keep you informed by email as that takes place. And if something needs to be done on our part, I'll start a special meeting. I'm open for questions.
My question would be, the health department, do they have any control over the number of campsites versus the number of restroom facilities? Do they think they have enough restroom to accommodate all those people?
I wouldn't be able to answer that. I am assuming they've had to meet that. But that could be a FOIA question. If we wanted to see what the certificates were, I would suspect that they meet that. I believe they have annual
outhouses
inspections on
too.
that. So,
Can't control the outhouses.
yeah,
Outhouses.
I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, you would, you have to.
and I am sure the health
Eagle
department
would
is.
be on
They
top
would
of
be,
that.
the health department
Yeah,
would be
that-
concerned, right?
That would not be one of my
No,
concerns.
Eagle would be on top of that anyway.
Well, I was just thinking it might be a way to support cutting back on the number of campsites because they don't have the restroom facilities to accommodate that. That's
Some of
all,
the,
that's all.
some of the campers have their own facilities.
Well,
How do you
that could
know,
be
though?
I think that's a secondary question. The
Okay.
question we have is not whether or not they're meeting the health department. That's the health department's
Right.
problem. Our
Okay.
problem is that they have not adhered to our zoning
Our
ordinances.
Right.
And therefore, we need to get an understanding with them that they need to do that. So,
Thank you.
I'm not clear on all the actors in this situation at the county. Jeremy is the,
administrator,
County
he's the
planner.
administrator.
He's
And I've
county
asked-
planner.
Jairus, what is his relationship to you? Are you his boss? The commissioner is his boss. 5 commissioners are his boss. And I can't ask you, you don't have to answer this question, but what goes through my head is, are the 5 commissioners also supporting their administrator? I don't, you have to answer that, but that's a question that I'm raising in my own mind with regard to who's the boss here. And is the commission, the 5 members, going along with the disagreement that we had at this meeting? I know you don't have to answer that,
well,
but I wonder.
Alan, if I could interject, I watched at least the meeting 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure if you discussed this at the most recent meeting, but in the first meeting of September, Jeremy basically said, there's a question of trust here and we're working on trying to adjust that and it takes time. And that was really the only commentary that was made related to Barnes Park at that meeting. So I'm not sure at this point that it's been brought to the point where the board is getting involved, I think they would, just as you guys would. If there's some type of reconciliation or an agreement that needs to be reviewed and discussed at the board levels, that would be the time they would get involved.
Right. Okay. I
Any-
agree.
Any other questions?
Doing a good job.
Well,
That communication going. Thank you.
we're moving, I think we're going to try to get to a point that it's clear cut that we need a decision made. And the county can take steps to do that.
We have to recognize too that Jeremy is the new planner over Pete Garwood, so he's filling in, so he's got new shoes too, so.
So we'll work through it. As I say, I've got a document I need to send. We've got the violation letter with the lawyer now for one final review. So things will pick up over the next couple of weeks.
In my mind, I'm just trying to work, I'm thinking process here. If they disagree with
Yep.
some of the items that we've talked about, and these things were done, there's two groups that'll make a decision with regard to whether or not we are right. One of them could be our ZBA if any of those things went to an appeal to the ZBA. The second one, of course, would be the judge in circuit court. So I guess what I don't believe could happen, I don't know. I don't know if the ZBA would have the authority to,
Well,
because it's after the fact.
we would, what we would do is we would take our own action
Yeah,
at the
okay.
court level.
Okay.
I mean, and I understand where Terry's coming from. He could go through the steps of filing a variance and being denied by the zoning administrator and then going to the ZBA and being denied at that point and then having to go to circuit court. I think the path that Todd is working on right now will be the better path. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
All right? Yep. All right. Second update is on the speech study. And as of right now, I haven't gotten a final statement. I did talk to the clerk in Milton, and that there's probably not going to be a reduction of their speed limit that they had requested. I've reached out to Bert to ask him for verification if there's any real decision yet. But at this point, I don't think it makes sense for us to try to run a study during the fall and winter months. So I would like to revisit this back when we get into March, April of next year and see where we go from there.
It just seems to me we could bring this up to our legislator, to our rep, with regard to how this has not been in a time when they really need to see what the issue is. Right now, the issue is minimal, not yet, but almost. It's definitely changed since Labor Day. And because they come in at the oddest time to take a look at this, and they don't look, and I'm sure we have seasonal roads all over the state where people are jogging and hiking wherever they are. I mean, it's not just in our own township. Anyways, I think somebody's going to get hurt. That's what I see happening.
Yeah, well, if it doesn't go anywhere, then as a board, we could go to the road commission and ask them to put in a 3 or 4 foot wide border on that road, which might allow the citizens that are walking or riding the bike at least a little more leeway and not pushing them off in the grass and the dirt. So let's see what happens, but we'll put this aside until
Yeah,
spring of next year.
you're correct. This is not the good time to do a study.
You also got to worry about, though, I mean, you also got to have some common sense when you're walking. I mean, I'm working down on that road and you'll have 3 people walking and 2 will stay on this side and 1 will go on that side. It's like, are you kidding me? So, I mean, it works both ways. I mean, I get it, but there's other people that have to work every day and go down that road and they don't want to drive 25, so.
No, that's a valid point. In talking with the clerk in Milton, I mean, I guess they go through and they count how many driveways there are within a certain period of, certain distance. Our driveways, we don't have that many driveways there, so that's going to be one of those items that will go against us when we move this thing forward. Next item, boat launch. At this point, I will be submitting a grant application in the spring of 2024. As you'll recall, the costs that originally came back to do it the right way was 300 to 350,000. I said, we're not doing that at this point. 45th Parallel, who provided the original cost, came back to me and said, hey, we'll go and take another look at it. Maybe we can do a short-term fix for a year or some in order to try to align the grant money associated with it. I also got some information of an individual who might be able to help us get some grant money down in Lansing, so I'm going to pursue that. But at this point, he indicated that the back 3 slabs need to be pulled out and reset, and some of the gravel work at the front, right by the ramp, needs to be redone. He thought that they could get in there and do all that for roughly $20,000. Now, we've got roughly $57,000 that has been collected over the last 3 years that's sitting in the general fund. And if you'll recall, when we were putting in the boat and the people monitoring it and the folks, that we said we would set money aside that we collected. So we've got $57,000 to do that. I think $20,000 makes sense. What are your thoughts?
Tell them what?
Give them 50 for the 300,000 job. Huh? Not.
I thought we didn't want to do a Band-Aid fix, though.
I know, but I'm looking at the money costs, and it's a lot of money. And I can't see, I mean, right now, our reserves run between 700,000 and 800,000 in the general fund. It's not bad. It allows us, if we have an emergency of major proportions, we can handle it. Yeah.
Can I put your wife on the spot? She's on the day part committee, right, aren't you, Rita? What's wrong? Are they launching boats and getting stuck and they can't pull out? I mean, what's the Band-Aid? What is 3 bricks going to do
Have
to?
you been down there to look at it?
Yeah,
So there's a gap. And what's happening is it's the bigger barges that get in there and they have to power load and power on to get through that. Most of the smaller boat trailers are getting down just to where that gap starts. The problem is we believe those other ones are not anchored appropriately. And if they start sliding, then I'm going to have problems. So all I'm trying to do is, all right, we can do a Band-Aid or leave it the way it is.
so,
I don't care.
so I'm on the same page. So they're launching, so when they're taking their boats out, they have to use their boat to get up on the trailer?
Yes,
Because they can't back down deep enough?
that's what I understand.
Really? Okay.
Well, those barges are 30 feet.
Are
The
you,
ones that lift-
So when you say barge, are we talking about the dock and hoist guys?
Yeah,
Are there any boats that are being launched that are,
well, we have restrictions on boats.
so we're doing this big fix so we can accommodate these barges?
Basically to stop the damage being done. But we're not doing the big fix. So if I'm not doing the big fix, then do I do the little fix? And
so are they needing the barges to bring the hoist out for the
Yeah.
season? That's what they're
that and
doing?
the docks, they do the docks and all the lifts.
I've been seeing them coming out already.
Oh, yeah. Yep, they've already started.
Have they complained about it or?
No, because they're getting their job done. I mean, when we raise the rates on them, they kind of made noise about it. I said, hey, you know, we're going to have to repair this stuff. And they didn't, you know, they're not too worried about it. The only concern they had, don't fix it when we're unloading and loading, right? At the beginning of the year and the end of the year. So my only question is the board comfortable making this small fix? And if not, then I'm not going to proceed with getting a contract and all that stuff. The guys said they can get it done in the fall because they can work from our wharf. They'll bring in a crane of sorts and they'll lift them out, reset them and re-anchor them.
Is there a guarantee that'll last for the time they specify? There's no guarantee, so,
I would doubt that there's a guarantee on that.
no.
What comes out of the $57,000 that we now have? Does that include wages or anything?
Nothing.
Nothing, it just sits there.
It just sits
Is boat-
there.
Is this boat money?
If you'll remember when we designated the
Marine,
cost, it was to repair and maintain the boat
Okay.
launch. It's separate from the day part.
Well, you're just gonna have continued damage if you don't do something. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's just gonna have continued damage.
So I guess, you know, and I'll take part of the blame. I mean, I was looking at this thing, let's fix it and fix it right. Well, 300,000 is a lot of money. So how do we fix it so that, you know, if we can fix it for a couple of years for 20,000, we got 57,000 and we almost got 20,000
years.
this year. If you average $20,000 a year, you can almost fix it every year. But that shouldn't be the case. We ought to be able to go a couple of years. So I'm kind of drawing back from saying we got to do a major fix and looking at, all right, we'll do Band-Aids. We've got money to do it that we've designated that should be spent on this stuff, and you've got to spend money to maintain it. So we either do it now or in the spring, or we do it next year. It hasn't stopped the operations of the ramp, if that's your question. So
when is a better time, in the fall or the spring to get it done?
I believe in the fall because I don't think they're that busy on the construction
I
side.
see.
So I'm thinking we're getting a decent deal here because,
I
you know, they don't have a lot of work. Do you want me to continue with the dialogue or just not worry about it this year?
Well, my question was, is it better spring or fall, is what I'm,
I'd
think
probably
we
say
do.
fall, because if they start in the spring and they don't get it done in time, then
Right.
we got people waiting to get their boat in there.
and I'm thinking in the fall, there's nobody gonna be using it anyway, so that's,
Well,
where's,
they'll be
where's my
using
head,
it,
you know?
yeah. They probably wouldn't start till after October 1st. So the vast majority of the boat removal and dock removal is going to be in that period of time.
And if they don't have it done, they'll have to go somewhere else, take
Well,
out their,
yeah, I mean, we're responsible for the thing, so.
Can 45th Parallel do something else, like another 10 grand? Could they firm it up even more?
Not, basically, Alan, you gotta, whatever they call that
Dredge.
band that goes around it,
Oh,
they gotta drain it.
Yeah.
They gotta pull
I
it
saw
all
it one
out
time, yeah.
and start from the bottom and work it up and build the appropriate base. And then they would put a solid concrete ramp going out, remove the dam, and you're done. But to do it appropriately, you got to dam, and that's where all the time is.
and they can fix it without damming it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
they'll have a guy in the water, but it's not like they're having to remove dirt and soil and have
I
a
got you.
shovel in there doing that stuff. They'll have a crane,
They'll just
that-
bring it up and level it, and
bring it up.
they're
and-
not putting any extra gravel and all that sort of stuff
No,
in there yet,
just,
okay?
just trying to put those pads back together and re-anchor it.
have you actually stood down there and watched these barges?
No, because normally they do them pretty early.
See, before I make any decision, I actually would like to see them launch and load their boat.
Well, you can go down there instead of cutting grass. Because they
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, I
They
don't know.
do a lot of stuff early in the day and late in the day.
I know I launched my boat there. That place is deep. I can't wrap my head around them not having enough clearance. So,
Hey, go down, you can see it.
I saw one coming out of there this week, coming out of there.
oh yeah,
Early in the
I see them
morning.
parked there, but I want to see.
All right,
do they
so-
really-
We're not done then. We're
I
not
would,
done.
again, I would I would recommend we have to do something. We have to fix
Yeah.
it, or it's just gonna be more damage and more expensive later. And we
Yep,
might have a
yep, yep.
$200,000 bill if we don't fix it. We have no other choice.
If we can get it done for 20, it's, even if it's a short-term fix, if they fix it, maybe it's only a couple years, but at least it's 2 years and we don't have to look at a major overhaul for 2 years.
What you don't want those pads to be moving. You want them locked up.
That's what we
Basically,
need to do. And if you go out there and look at them, they're moved there at the far end.
Are they they were attached at one time. Are they gonna be attached?
Well, they anchor them down. If you look at them, they got holes on the ends, and I think that's where they anchored it down. Because there's no wrapping of any type that's holding them together.
I was thinking they were attached too.
Oh,
Do we want, we go forward with this, can we give
well, I've got to bring it back to the board. I would have to
Okay.
have a special meeting because the
Okay.
contract would be at least 20, and I don't, we got to have board
I
approval
was
for
gonna
that
say, if we can
expense.
have a lockdown figure, then,
I will ask them to pull together the final estimate and what they're actually going to do. I'll bring it to the board and we can vote on it. All right?
Yes.
All right. So that's the boat launch. Road ends, Dean Ferrier, I contacted him. He's supposed to get back to me with an estimate. Probably won't do it probably till the end of October, or early November, which makes sense. Let the vegetation go away and I've sent him the maps for the 18 sites. 4 of them are pretty easy, 4 or 5 of them. The rest of them are back in the woods. So survey them, stake them, and then in the spring, we'll hire people to go in and clean them out. So that's where we are with road ends.
that's pretty quick, because they're behind time.
Well, I suspect they'll be later in the year. Information only. We have the day park report, and unfortunately, in looking at this, it's kind of hard for her to pull together a real meaningful report at this time. If you can imagine, the attendants are putting down all this different information into sheets, and the sheets accumulate, and there's nothing in the computer, so she's got to go through and hand count every page. Basically, they have a rough estimate of 910 launches this year, which is residents, commercial, and non-residents. And as I said, we've collected almost $20,000. The 910 does not count all the activity that takes place before our attendants are there. So everything in the spring up to Memorial Day and after Labor Day. Excuse me. We don't have any records on that, but I can assure you there's quite a few boats and stuff, and that doesn't even count the docks and the lifts and things of that sort. So
Say again how much they've collected, please?
for dollars,
You've
or
got it.
910 launches that were
Oh.
recorded.
Okay,
You
but
can look
didn't
at
you
the
give a
general-
dollar figure?
Yeah, roughly 20,000,
That's,
18,900 and
okay,
something.
that's good.
You can look in the budget, Kathy, you're the general ledger.
Yeah.
I don't wanna, I wanna ask Bob.
Put me on the spot.
You just said it.
Well, I don't
just
want any
wanted you-
inaccurate
'cause I
records
needed
in
it.
the,
Also, let's see,
well,
bottom line. That's all I've got for the day park. So we will move to citizen comment. Any citizen comment? Tom, did you fill out a sheet? I'm afraid we close the acceptance of sheets. They're supposed to be in at the beginning of the. I think he was sleeping back there for a couple minutes.
Mr. Tom Peterson would like to address the board.
Tom Peterson, 12232 Yelta Road, Keewaydin, Michigan.
Get closer though, Tom, please.
I can't get any closer.
There you are.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
All right. When we get down here on this nature preserve deal, like I said, we need this really put to an end on who owns what and what's doing what. I just talked to Kevin and Bertrand here on where they have to get down there with emergency vehicles, and you got the cements there, the slabs. To turn around, you got to get a better place for these vehicles to turn around because they're not little cars. So that needs to be addressed, who owns what, and they got to make a better turnaround down there for them. Because that is what the emergency is for. And I had a lot of things I wanted to say about the preserve down there, and that was all addressed on your new proposal there, and I think that's very good as a fire lane. So I don't have any questions on that. I just want to reiterate that you got to get this turnaround fixed for them. That's going to be one thing you probably have to do every year. You know, sand blowing up on there, whatever, but we need a good base so they can turn around and not get stuck in the stand.
Have you been down there?
Yeah.
And the hammerhead, you're telling me that hard pack is not sufficient?
Well, I'm talking, you better have a radius. You're talking bigger vehicles.
My understanding, because we had Bob Hawkins drive that rig down there, my understanding was there was no issue in there being able to turn around.
Well, I just want to, make sure.
Don't worry. I'm not.
Make sure for these people.
That has been a priority of mine. So.
And another thing on old business, which we never have, back when you first got elected and we had, you and Sharon were going to get some new signs made up for people when they come down the road. You're entering Torch Lake Township. I don't see any of it done.
There's some done and there's some still being worked on.
Well, they're not put up.
They're not quite done yet. It's a kind of a winter project that they've been working on because the person that's working on them now is busy through the summer, but he has more time in the winter. So they're working on them. I think there was only, are we supposed to address these right now?
You can. That's
Okay.
fine.
One sign was totally stolen, so one new sign has to be totally reconstructed, and the other ones have been worked on. So there's 3 of them up, I believe, and 2 more are being worked on.
Okay, I'll just.
The one on
bring it
West
up.
Torch Lake Drive, we got to find the coordinates because he keeps asking me for the coordinate where to put it. But the one at the north end, 31, and the one at the south end of 31's done. The one on 88 was totally stolen. That's being remade totally again. And the other one on East Torch Lake Drive is almost done.
So to answer your other questions, as long as we're answering your questions, the question about ownership of the area down there, I've been working with Bert Thompson day one on this thing. And those concrete blocks are right smack in the middle of where the parking used to be, which was part of the nature preserve. The ones down by the water are right at the 50-foot mark because that's one of our road ends and we have 50 feet down there at the end of that. So we put those right on that line.
What about the ones on the right hand side?
That's one the ones on the right-hand side were placed within the parking area that had been there before, which was part of the nature preserves parking area. So
you got rid of that then?
I didn't get rid of any. Yeah, that's where the concrete blocks are to make sure people don't park.
But does that, interfere with them turning around?
Nope. If it is, they haven't told me that.
Well, they're gonna
And
go
that's
check
their
it out.
job. That's fine.
And
Okay.
let me add one more comment, Tom. The person that's working the signs now has just started in the last year and a half, 2 years, maybe. Prior to that, it was our own maintenance that had him down for a very long time and doing it in his own garage and couldn't finish them. So they've been down a long time, but not with the current people that are working on them now. Does that make sense? I took it away from that person because that person wanted to give it up, and I've got a new person working on it. So it's getting along, done much faster than it was prior.
Okay. All right. That takes care of citizen comment, board comment. Alan? None. Jason? None. Sharon?
I just want to thank you, Bob, for all the added detail he's working on with the county and pursuing the surveys and all of the other, thank you, that's kudos to you too. So I have no other, the tax collections went very well. The bulk of it is behind, but there's still more to be collected, so.
All right, Kathy?
I just want to ask the question about our new website designer person, et cetera. Where are we with that?
I think Sharon, you can give them an update.
I'm waiting for, I gave information to a lot of the different employees to give me their feedback so we can get it corrected on it before we launched it, with half of it being in errors, and I haven't got responses back from a lot of the different ones. So I guess I will have to go back to our employees and it's being made. It's there. If you want to view it, Kathy, just ask me. You can view it.
I'm
But
asking
there,
you.
but there are a lot of things that are still taken from the old website and put on the new one that are not updated. Committees, members, all kinds of things that I've been working on. So come into my office, ask me, I'll show you the website, and we can figure out the ones that need to be corrected.
Okie dokie.
We'll try to get, if people don't respond, then we'll just do the best we can. We'll
Well,
get it out there.
she's asked me and I don't know how to answer her. I have nothing to look at. I don't know.
I've given sheets from the old one. I say, correct these, and that's where it goes dead.
And then you give those to him and I'm.
Well, did you give your sheets back to
no,
Sharon?
I have not.
Well, then that doesn't help us. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, yeah.
Jason?
I just wanted to say the last 5 days now, when I go onto our MLS, our Aspire North, the Torch Lake Township septic
Ordinance.
inspection, that's the first thing you see when you go onto our MLS. so.
Oh, good. I've had 2 people so far call needing that done, and that no objection to having it done. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from the various environmental groups, Three Lakes and Torch Lake Protection Alliance, very positive that we were taking the lead on this. So it's been well received, and
There's been many other townships asking for
Yeah.
copies too.
so my only comment, are you done, Kat? My comment is I just wanted to publicly thank Bob and Virginia Hawkins and Nico for taking care of the day park the way they have this year. We had no problems. We didn't have to call 911. People were pretty respected and respectful. And there was only 1 or 2 incidents that I was made aware of at the boat ramp where there was people that kind of got out of line a little bit. And it turns out that other boaters came to support the attendant and kept the matter under reasonable control. And I think that's really great. So with that, I'll make the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second at 8:54.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, board.